Tai sveiki visi, toliau tęsiam neredaguotą pokalbius ir šiandien tą dieną, kai turėsim ryšį su Ukraina, su mūsų, galima sakyti, laidos bičiuliu Viktoru Tregubovu ir pasišnekėsim apie situaciją Ukrainoje. So, Victor, hi again. It's I counted today, it's our 7th chat already, and most of them were about the war. I guess in the near future we can do one on a different topic. So how are you doing in general?
Well, more or less stable, thank you.
All right. So everybody is looking, at the media in Europe and seeing this period as some kind of, calm period or at least not so violent. How do you see it from the inside, the situation in Ukraine?
Well, I cannot call it truly calm. First of all, because of the situation in Mariupol, and secondly, because of the situation near Izium. Actually, Russians now try to advance their offense and try to encircle our forces on Donbas. So, well, of course, that's maybe not the most intense period, but still it is intense. And, well, there is some thoughts that don't give me to relax. So, for example, thoughts that maybe in every occupied region there is some kind of butcher. And I know that in Mariupol, it is even worse. So, well, so I just can't perceive it as some kind of pause. No, it's not a pause. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. I totally get your point. But like everybody was waiting. Let's say not everybody, but waiting for the Kyiv to fall. There was so much talk about that, and since that is kind of off the table, everybody is kind of judging that this is a better situation. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That the war, all those crimes, genocide and stuff like that, it's happening. And you mentioned Izium. So what is the situation there, and what is the aggressor trying to achieve there?
Well, for now, the main Russian point of advance is actually through Izium area and south of it. They want to encircle our main forces that for now are situated in Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, in non-occupied part of Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, and they want to strike them into the back. So, and they actually have a really, really massive amount of forces there near Izium, near Kharkiv, and so on. And of course, their second front is on the south. They also have forces near Mariupol, in Zaporozhye Oblast, and so on, and so on. So they just want these forces to connect and to cut our forces in zone of so-called OOS zone, Donbas and Lugansk region, just cut them off from the mainland. That's their main goal, and that's what they are trying to achieve now. They all abandoned Kyiv, Sumy, Chernihiv. They almost abandoned Kherson Oblast, not Kherson, I'd say not Kherson Oblast, but that is west from the Dnieper River. So they just try to do at least one victory for this war, and this victory should be the destruction of Ukrainian forces on Donbas from their point of view.
But as I understand, Dnipro and Zaporozhye is fully controlled by Ukrainians.
Absolutely, of course.
Okay, so that means that this gap that they are trying to close is somewhere from Izium to Mariupolis, yeah, in that line.
Yes, definitely. Well, a bit western, but yeah, you got the point.
All right, so if I remember,
I just could have no map to show, but
I am looking at your map, and it doesn't matter those details. We are trying to get to the bigger picture. So, I think yesterday we had some strange message from Mariupol, from the Azov battalion, that the general government or office is not really on the line with them. Did such information reach you guys, or maybe there is some more information, because that was through the Telegram channel of Azov Battalion that basically they're getting messages, but when they call back and ask for, I don't know, supplies or whatever they are asking, or intel or something else, nobody's picking up the line. Is that fake news, or is that some kind of situation?
Well, it's really hard for me to comment, because just for today I saw I'd say several absolute fakes about what's going on in Mariupol, and for now I just want to clarify for myself what is really going on there, because it was strange for me that during the first phase of conflict, Russian information operations wasn't so dire as they actually were in year 14 or year 15. And just in the last 2 days, they got absolutely mad. They so many provocations. They got to attack Russian Belgorod Oblast, some fake video about situation in Mariupol, and so on, so on, so on. So for now,
but the message I'm telling you about, it was, you know, in the Telegram channel of Azov, you know, the main channel.
For this message, I suppose it's true, but I don't have actually much of context, because for me, I actually know that we have some supplies provided to Mariupol defenders. Well, there was some ways to smuggle them into Mariupol beyond Russian lines. So I don't I can comment maybe that. Well, maybe that supplies goes not to Azov, but to Ukrainian armed forces in Mariupol or so on. I just cannot comment because I'm not on the ground, and anything I'll tell you now could be just some kind of speculation. I try to figure it out myself, but when the city is absolutely closed and barricaded, and when Russian information ops also work, it's not so.
All right, I'm not sure you can hear me right now, but probably the connection is back. So there is one more thing that was speculated, let's say around, at least in Lithuania, is that it seems like Ukrainians have relaxed, and they're already talking that the war is over, that, you know, that they won, and then that it's only the matter of time. What is your perception of, you know, all the levels? I mean, the government, the society, the military. What is the mood and the focus at the moment?
Well, the war is really far from over, and maybe some refugees are telling that they are going home to Kyiv because they feel Kyiv is safe. Yes, for now, Kyiv is safe. So some refugees can go back if they want to, but Kyiv is safe and war is over is two really different, I'd say, messages. No, so sadly, war is not over. There is not only war, there is actually genocide going on occupied territories. So we're still in our biggest struggle for an age. So not, of course not. Ukrainians are not relaxed here. Far from that.
I mean, yes, maybe this conclusion was drawn, you know, because, you know, there are so many messages from you know, the staff, and maybe somebody, you know, read that it's more relaxed. So I'm pretty sure that nobody is thinking that the war itself is over, but like the vibe, maybe that's what I was trying to say. That,
no, I don't think so. Of course, some people get. Many people, actually millions of people, have well, the possibility to return to more or less usual life. Yes, that's for sure. And of course, when the life is like sprung in your capital, it's always good. It's always seems that situation visually improved, but that isn't about war is over. That's just about, okay, we pushed the enemy back from the capital, and the capital for now, for some time at least, can live normal life. That's cool, but that's not relaxing. That's just, that just coming of the capital from the status of frontline cities to the status of backwards, I don't know the proper term, cities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only thing, that I wanted to clarify with this question, maybe the psychological toll, has done something bad and people started to relax. But as I hear from you, there is nothing like that, and there is no. proper, concentration. So the other thing that we heard from, I guess, as I'm reading it right now, from Donetsk, some kind of, occupiers' office, that they are already talking how they're gonna use the chemical weapon on the Azov, this factory, and basically to get those guys from underground. Is the chemical weapon being used already at some points? Because we hear that there were a few explosions, that some acid was in the air. What do you guys find out, especially after you clear some areas and then find those artifacts?
For now, no. Actually, no signs of using of weapons of mass destruction is here. You mentioned acid smoke, but that was after some chemical plant was hit. It wasn't some kind of chemical weapon. So no, for now, thanks God, no.
All right. So the other.
I got to point that we still have suspicions that the Russians may use chemical weapons, because we know that in their supplies there are some some antidotes to chemical weapons like atropine and so on. But maybe they just afraid that we would use chemical weapons, which we can't do because we haven't one. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the times, what you hear from Russians, they are the things that they are planning themselves. So probably the most shocking thing, to the world in the last week is those pictures and videos from around Kyiv, what they found. And as you mentioned, there's probably going to be even worse things in Mariupol and other cities. So is there some kind of scope already of this tragedy of the civilians? I heard somewhere that there are around 80,000 people missing or accounted as missing in Ukraine. What are the numbers that you hear inside Ukraine about, the dead and the missing?
I don't even know, because the situation is still ongoing. It's just hard to evaluate even the numbers, even the most basic numbers, because for now we can't even know how many civilians left in Mariupol, and so on, how many civilians left in some other occupied areas, how many civilians left in Volnovakha, almost destroyed town, and so on, so on, so on. So I'm afraid the death toll will be much, much bigger than you mentioned. So it's terrifying, but it's just true. Well, Mariupol has almost 500,000 population before the war, so
yeah, it's devastating. Like you said that Mariupol, is considered to be the worst hit. What are the other areas that we have a situation like in Mariupol in Ukraine?
Well, they actively shell in Chernihiv and Kharkiv from big cities. No, well, if you mention big cities, it's Chernihiv and Kharkiv, but still they are holding on pretty good. But Chernihiv is actually suffered a lot of damage.
But Chernihiv Chernihiv is actually free of Russians right now.
It's free of Russian presence, but they still shelling it across the border.
Okay.
Also, well, you have heard about attack on Kramatorsk railway station, about terror tactics used in Kherson and Zaporizhia Oblast, about Russian National Guard arresting Ukrainian activists on occupied territory. Well, maybe you heard about strikes on Avdiivka, but Avdiivka, well, people there used to be on the front line. So it's pretty hard everywhere where there is some with Russia and Russia troops. Maybe that's not such terrible as in Mariupol, but still, well. And Russians try to advance. Try to advance to Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, so it could become worse actually.
Absolutely. So what is the latest on the troops and the resupplies? When is? I mean, it's a stupid question, but still, I'm going to ask it. Is there roughly some estimation when the second or whatever wave we can call it is going to start? When they are going to be ready with the resupplies and I mean the weapons and the soldiers, is there a rough estimation when it's going to take place, this
it's
big battle?
It's actually starting right now. They're trying to start the advance south of Izium, and it's more about escalation of this advance.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose it is starting now, and during a week, we will see some more intense attempts to breach Ukrainian defenders' lines.
So when I hear this, I mean, obviously the weapons that the West is promising, it's not going to reach Ukraine in a week. That's for sure, in large quantities. So what is the situation right now with the Ukrainian armed forces in terms of weaponry? Are they? I mean, of course, obviously, nobody really knows, or such intel is top secret. But since the battles are going, so I guess you are guys still in pretty good shape in terms of ammunition and tanks and the rest.
More or less. Well, there are things we have plenty of, and things we lack. Since we have plenty of for now is actually the everything one person can use. I mean, something like stingers, like javelins, loads. We also have a really effective Stugna systems. Stugna is our own work. It's Ukrainian anti-tank weapon, and it's just great because it's not only effective anti-tank, but we proved that it's also effective anti-helicopter weapon. But the problem is that we lack long-range anti-aircraft guns and missiles, and we lack aviation. And that's and also, of course, we lack any protection from Russian missiles, long-range missiles. So that remain our main priority and our main problem, because the main reason we are not counterattacking on Mariupol and not trying to deblocate Mariupol is that we just have no ability to send our troops there while the Russians have aerial superiority. Oh, yes, and also there is one thing we really lack for now. It's actually automobiles and armored vehicles. Well, yes, we have many, but we need much more. We need just to move troops, and we'll lack the ability to.
Well, we heard that the Australia is sending. We heard that UK is sending, but when it's gonna arrive, it's of course the big question.
Australian, as far as I remember, Australian already arrived.
Uh-huh.
So it's not actually so difficult.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the other question, which is like constantly a discussion topic here in Lithuania. Like, how do you guys see the NATO and your allies in Europe in the light of this, weapons struggle when, one of the biggest economies in the world, the prime minister, basically the chancellor says that, the tanks are going to go and then the tanks are going to be postponed and stuff like that. How do you guys see this? I mean, that should do something psychologically, especially, the feelings for the West, let's call it like that.
First of all, that's some sign of weakness from their side. That's bad. That's bad not for us. That's bad for them. Second of all, we have a great help from NATO countries, but not from NATO, and we understand that in current situation, NATO mechanism is also flawed. I will be frank. Sorry, but Hungary for now acts like a Russian puppet in NATO, and NATO have all decisions taken by consensus. So it's almost paralyzed. All could be paralyzed in the near future. So it's something to be that needs to be done, not for Ukraine, but I'd say for all the European security, because for now that's flawed. And of course, yes, we want more weapons, but we understand that every country have its problems. We understand that German army for now is really, really weaker that we used to perceive German army. We understand that maybe some other countries want to get American weaponry before they send post-Soviet weaponry to us, and so on, so on, so on. So it's problematic. It's just NATO. It seems that NATO wasn't ready for this escalation, and truth to be told, NATO wasn't ready for Ukraine to withstand.
Yeah, that's absolutely a sad story because the NATO and the West should have been ready since 2009. There was plenty of time to be ready, but yeah, you mentioned Hungary. We see that Viktor Orban is after the election, after he won the election, he already started a kind of he has made some stupid statements before, and now he's actually maybe he's coming to his mind, or how should we put it? How do you see, like, after this war, any possibility to work with such a neighbor who was denying Bucha massacre, in the beginning, and asked for more evidence, and like the Polish ex. The leader of the biggest party, the vice prime minister, he said that, Orban probably needs a ophthalmolog, if he doesn't see, what is in Bucha. How do you guys see such neighbors? I mean,
well, that's not the Hungary is not a problem. The problem is that Hungary is in EU and in NATO and have a voice there. And that's the main problem, because if it wasn't in NATO or in EU, so we could just ignore it. Absolutely. Okay, there are some neighboring country with some populistic politician who try to pose Ukrainians as his enemies. Well, we have Belarus. So what? But yes, as long as they are in NATO, as long as they can block any initiative for helping Ukraine, it's a problem.
So okay, so well, we'll see. I mean, until now they haven't blocked anything, but they said that they have their red lines. So obviously those red lines are not I mean, they're like the same as Germany's. It's gas, it's dependence on gas, on Russian gas. We also heard that tomorrow, you mentioned Belarus, and their president is going to meet with Vladimir Putin in the far east. What is like the vibe in Ukraine regarding the Belarus joining the war, because we all know that the army of Belarus is very weak. This just a few thousand soldiers. Like, do you see a possibility of them joining this stupidity?
Actually, no, because there was some point for them to join during the assault on Kyiv. There was a point for them to join, while actually Russians still tried to take Kyiv. And I suppose that Russians use every argument they have to force them to join their war effort. But if it didn't work that day, I don't think it ever will. Actually, there is no military point for now. And there is actually, I suppose there is no political leverage for now for Russians to force Belarus to that suicidal move. And I suppose actually Russians also understand that this move could be suicidal for Lukashenko, because, well, it's not even about his army to be beaten or deserted. It's more like about his army going to other side. So.
Yeah, we see some videos from the Belarusian enthusiasts who are already in Ukraine fighting alongside Ukrainians. Well, so maybe in this case you would have more troops on your side. I mean, of course, it's a joke, but still.
Well, it's not.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to ask you, this land lease program that is currently, going through the stages in US. There is a very strange, let's say, condition. I was reading an article in Lithuania today that says that the weapons are going to be, leased and lent, but as I understand, they are only can be used up to the point of, the February 24th boundaries. So basically, if you push out Russians with those weapons, but you will try to take Donetsk or Luhansk or Crimea, you will not be allowed to do that. Have you heard anything about such clause?
Well, actually not, but I can't see a really big problem with that. We actually don't. If we will have such an, we can actually move to Donetsk, Lugansk, and Crimea with other weapons. So that's not such a problem. Okay, if they will send us some, well, I don't know, aircraft, we could just not use them in actually Donetsk and Lugansk space, no problem with that. If they send us some tanks, okay. If we will attack Lugansk or Donetsk or something else, we just will use our tanks and use that their tanks only, well, in liberation of territories occupied after the escalation. So that's not problem. Well, that is some limit, but it's not the biggest limit you can imagine.
Of course, not the biggest, but it looks, even on paper, kind of disappointing, from our point of view, that, there is such clause, because we hear that, there is no question about the Ukrainian integrity in terms of territory. And right now we see that, well, sort of there are some exceptions. So, by the way, how do you guys feel it? Should you at this point take everything back, or try to, I don't know, some dialogue with the Russians? I mean, it sounds stupid even when I say this, but like, how do you see this?
Well, I suppose that our interests, maybe of Ukraine and of United States, can a bit differ here, because both Ukraine and United in Ukraine goes on pre-escalation borders. But if we're talking about actual Ukrainian borders with Crimea and Donetsk, I suppose that current US administration isn't so interested, because they well, afraid of global escalation. But Ukraine is. Well, perhaps maybe for me, Ukraine is interested in restoring all its territorial integrity, not only, the borders prior to this February. So I suppose that Ukraine should do everything and I suppose it should be military action, not some kind of negotiations, to take at least some of these lands. I suppose that that even if we will take some parts, not going to Sevastopol or not taking all Donetsk region, but maybe if we will take some cities, villages, towns that was occupied from 14 years, it can change the situation drastically because it will make a different point for negotiations. From that point, we can negotiate because Russians, after that, Russians will understand that the war isn't even draw, the war is lost. And if the war is lost, it will be Ukraine who will dictate it's actually want to or don't want to.
And what about the people of Donetsk and Luhansk? We heard that the men are already hiding from mobilization, but maybe my question is not even that. My question, maybe they have already opened their eyes in the last, I don't know, if they haven't opened their eyes in the 8 years, maybe this 46, 47 days have cleared some, mist from their eyes. Is there any sympathy for the Russians there, or it's starting to evaporate?
I suppose for now, they have no sympathy for Russians and no sympathy for Ukrainians. They just want to survive. They just want to survive and get out of this mess. So I suppose that they won't try to hold for some political concepts. They will just choose the most, I'd say, the best way to survive is the best way to build something. And that's absolutely normal because I think they fully understand that after this war, Russia will be in really bad shape. Ukraine also, yes, but Ukraine will get help and Russia won't. So I suppose that for them, it may become obvious that the cause of so-called republic is lost, and they already understood that Russia just used them as a cannon fodder, and that's pretty literally.
Also, we have heard some other things that in Donetsk, there was some natural gas scouted, a large, quantities. Is that any reliable information? Because I have read that the main motivation for the Russians is the natural resources there, and maybe
no, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
There gas there. It's I forgot the proper English word. Українською це сланцевий газ. But the problem is that's not actually the main reason. It's not like Russians came there gas, or Russians have much more gas on Siberia. No, it's just trying to rationalize their actions by economic means.
But there was this joke written that if there is gas, Ukrainians could promise that gas to the Germans, and maybe they could send all the weapons for the Ukrainians.
Theoretically, yes, but practically it's more complicated. That's it.
Absolutely. So, in terms of the situation, of course, the Russians came because they have this absolutely absurdic narrative about the Ruski Mir and how to unite it and stuff like that. How do you see and we hear what are the ordinary citizens in Russia are talking, and we see, the support for Putin. What do you think? Is it possible to heal this nation, like from the mentality that has been probably brainwashed for the last, I don't know, many years? We can talk here about the Putin era, but before Putin era, there also was, a brainwash. So, yeah, seriously, how do you see those brothers from the East?
Well, I am not interested in healing them, truth to be told. Well, I cannot serve my children's, grandchildren's, and so on stake. And suppose that maybe sometimes Russians will heal from their imperialistic, chauvinistic, and actually narcissistic bullshit. Well, for 500 years, they didn't. Okay, maybe theoretically they could, but I don't want to bet for that. I don't want to plan, to speculate, should them or would them. No, I just want that to change the situation so they couldn't attack my country. I don't give a slightest care about how they will live in their country. Will they hate us, or will they love us, or I don't give a shit. I just want them to have no practical opportunity to attack us. I want them to have no such military, no such economics, and no such practical possibility. So it won't be about their wishes or thoughts. It will be about they actually can do. Can't do. I want them to can't do anything harmful to Ukraine.
Like, how do you see it possible? Because we see that on one hand, there is Europe, which is not, let's say, slow. Let's use the best word, very slow. On the other hand, we see India and China, who are kind of in some kind of relationship with Russia. So how basically we can get this monster, beaten properly? How do Ukrainians see this possibility?
That's what we're doing right now. Okay, just imagine that all that weapons that we asked for, that we all got from the start of the escalation, was in Ukraine in the day of the escalation started. I don't even suppose Russia could take Kherson or to move to Bucha or to shell Kharkiv or so on and so on. If we only had these weapons several months ago, even without the weapons, we stopped them. We destroyed a large hunk of their army. So it's not something really impossible. No, it's absolutely practically doable. And we are doing it. And if we were even slightly better, armed, organized, or prepared, the war could just already end it practically with complete Russian defeat. So it's really easy for us. Let's just destroy some Russian military equipment. Let's just defeat Russians now, and let's just make our army, well, I'd say a bit better than it was. So in the next attempt to, and of course, let sanctions do its job. So next time Russia will try to attack, Russian forces will be even weaker, and Ukrainian forces will be much stronger. So the Russian attack will be just beaten even before it makes some serious damage. That's how it works.
Yeah, but you, as I hear from you, you still see that this war, is not gonna finish up Russia, and if we let them, they will come back later. So that's obviously a bad scenario.
No. I suppose it may end Russia's willingness to attack Ukraine or to attack any country in a generation, let's say. Or I'm not talking about destroying Russian army as a whole. I am talking for now about making Russian army decisively weaker than Ukrainian, and it is Actually, for me, it's doable, it's simpler. I understand how it could be done, and I understand that with NATO help, it could be done even in a rather short term. So that's not a problem, that's a mission.
So basically the only thing is missing is more weapons.
Yeah, actually, more weapons. Of course, we have many things to reform in our army, but for now, yes, the weapons is the key because we have, I'd say, professionals, great professionals, really great in, and we proved that they are great in not in our understanding, but on world scale. We have good motivated soldiers, and the thing we lack is actually weapons, supplies, and money. But if NATO will help us with these spendings, with money, supplies, and weapons, we can beat Russians. It's not something impossible. It's not even something really, really different. It is doable.
All right, Victor. Well, I hope, that how they say your words will reach the window of God. We have such saying, and the West is actually gonna unite in terms of proper supply chain of ammunition and all the required stuff. So, as usual, it's great talking to you. Great to see that you are in the fighting spirit. That is probably a Ukrainian character, which nothing can take from you guys away. And well, I have to say that as a European, we are glad that we have such neighbors as Ukrainians, and because if that would be any other country in Europe, we joke, that this war would actually take 3 days.
No, I hope not. We are still glad that we have support. We're still glad to have Lithuania. We're still glad to have Poland on our side. So it's great.
All right, Victor. So as I said in the beginning, hopefully, well, let's not be over optimistic, but I would say in a month or a few months, we can talk about something else, let's say political parties of Ukraine, because that would be interesting as well. But yeah, all of our 7 episodes is about fucking war, so it's a sad story. But
so what could we do?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks as usual for your time. Ačiū visiems, kurie žiūrėjot, ir iki kitų kartų.